Good evening. Good evening. Okay, I think we can start in 1 or 2 minutes. Hope my voice is audible. So please complete the tasks in Moodle. Okay, so by tomorrow we'll be closing them. Those who wants to practice later on, it won't be available, so we won't enable. You have to make sure that you are completing your job within the given time. So strings and slices problems we will be completing, we'll be closing tomorrow. And after that, we'll be adding a lot of questions based on Python data structures. That is, in the last class, we covered list, right? Python lists. So in today's session, we'll be completing tuples, dictionary and sets. Okay. So based on that, I'll be adding. Also, along with this, by the end of this week, that is by Sunday, we will be closing this assessment problems also, Python assessment problems. So there are some 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 problems are there. We'll be closing those 10 problems. And material also we will not upload from now on. If you really want to practice, you have to attend the class, refer the video, and any doubts you can contact us. But many students are not attending, thinking that okay, material is there, we'll practice later on, but nobody is practicing. That is a problem. The problem with the students is that there is no continuity. One day they will be interested, next day they will lose the interest. So materials, whatever I uploaded till now, you can refer that. From now on, we will not be uploading any materials in the Moodle also. Whatever the way you want to study, please study it. If you have any doubt, refer our class videos, right? Explore yourself. So it has become like spoon feeding from day one. So we'll only concentrate on those students who are really working hard. And if they have doubt, then anyway, they will contact us. Okay. Hope you people understood the list which we covered in the last class, right? So there are 4 types of data structures as I discussed in the last class: list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Okay. So this one is completed, list is completed. We will cover today tuple, set, and dictionary. So all of you know how to create the list, right? So syntax also I told you. For list, you need to use the square bracket. For tuple, normal brackets. For sets, flower brackets. For dictionary, key value pairs. Within the flower bracket, key value pairs. Please remember those syntaxes. And most importantly, I think I covered unpacking, packing also. So last few minutes I covered this. Hope all of you have understood this part. If anyone have doubt in this, especially in this unpacking, you can ask me. Packing and unpacking within the list or tuple, right? So it's an important question. How to unpack the list items into individual variables. And what is a constraint if there are less number of values or more number of variables in the list, right? In the variables. So this part, please go through properly. Please inform your friends to join quickly. Okay. So the next concept in that Python data structures is tuples. Okay. Tuples. So how to create the tuples? As I already told, you have to use the normal bracket using brackets. So you can use like this. Within the brackets, you can mention the elements. But tuples are also can be created without brackets. But generally, we don't suggest that. So I've given the comment line. That means this program will work without bracket also. So just like a list, tuples also can contain different data values. So it is a combination of strings, floating point value, integers. So it is not reserved for just one data type. You can add any type of data within the tuple also, just like list. Excuse me. So if you want to check the type of the data, what you are storing, you can check using the type. So the class name for the tuple is tuple itself. So you can just verify that. Then you are printing the tuple values, right? So without bracket also you can create the tuple is what I am trying to say. So you still get the output, but generally we don't tell this method because it might create a confusion that the students might think that it is a normal list of values. So it's better to put the brackets, right? It's better to put the brackets and make sure that you are creating a list, I mean tuple. And in the last class, what is that I told you? The main difference between all the data types, list, tuple, right? Set and dictionary. So when you compare list with tuple, what is the main difference? So in tuple, you can't change the tuple elements, immutable, whereas list is a mutable. Mutable means you can modify the existing values in the list, whereas in tuple, you can't modify the existing values. So tuple is basically immutable, right? So please remember that point. You can't change the tuple elements, or you can't insert or append the new values. Okay. So here what I'm trying to do in this line, there is a tuple called as TP1, right? There is some value here. I'm trying to update that value. So at the 1st position, there is ABC, which I'm trying to modify to DEF, correct? So when I'm trying to do that and print the tuple, you can see that what is the type error I'm getting. Please remember these errors also. Make a note of whatever error you are getting separately. So type error we will get. So what is this type error? Tuple object does not support item assignment. That means once the tuple is created, you can't change the existing index values, right? So this is a most important point when somebody asks you, what is the difference between list and tuple? This is a very basic difference that you people should be knowing. Okay, you can't modify the tuple element, right? And unlike list, tuple supports only two functions. There are no other functions that tuple can work with. So please remember or note down these two functions. Tuple have only two predefined functions which it will support, right? Count and index. That means you can count the number of times that value is repeated or the index position of the existing value. So here I'm trying to count the how many times this one is repeated in the tuple. For example, here I'll write date some values, right? So here one is repeated 3 times. So I can check how many times that one is repeated here. So you will get the output. One is repeated. Count of one is giving me the answer as 3. So that is possible because you're not modifying anything. And you can find the index of the value. So what is the index of 3.5 is 4, right? Why it is 4? So why I'm getting 4 here? Because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3.5's index is 4. So these two functions are only supported by tuple. That means you can't use the other functions like append, insert, right? Extend, all those things are not possible with the tuple. So then the next question that you will get is, obviously I want to modify the existing elements. I might want to insert the new student data or new employee data, right? So obviously once the tuple is created, if I want to modify the existing elements in the tuple, how to do it, right? So there are alternative ways for that. So one common way is you can read this point. To overcome the above problem, what problem? The problem of updating the tuple elements or adding the new elements. What you can do is you can convert tuple into list, right? You can convert tuple into list. Then add items to the tuple and or add item to the list and convert back that list to the tuple. So this is a very important question, right? So how to update the elements in the tuple is the question. So what is the first way? You can convert the existing tuple into the list, update the elements in the list, and convert back the list into tuple. Okay. So how to do this is the next question. So to do that, what I am doing here is in this line, first I'm creating an empty list. So this is called as an empty list. So all of you know that list is created using square bracket. So this is called as an empty list, correct? So empty list means it doesn't have any elements as of now. Then see this line. So there is an inbuilt function called as list, also called as list constructor. Okay. So what does this list constructor do is it will convert the tuple into the list. Okay. So what I am passing to the list function TP1. So TP1 is the tuple which we have created that I am converting into list. So where I'm storing to the empty list I'm storing. So now what happened is whatever the elements that are there in TP1 will comes to or stored into list one. So I converted the tuple values into list values. Now what I am doing in the next line, fifth line, I'm appending the elements in the list, right? So that means I'm adding new element, list one dot append ACK. So that means I am adding new element. So you can see here in this line, the output. So existing elements were these many. Then I've added some elements. Okay. Yeah. So you can see now. So existing elements were 111 ABC 3.5. Now this ACK is updated, correct? Then I'm printing that. Now I don't want it to be tuple. I mean, I don't want it to be list. I want it back to be tuple. So you can ask me, sir, why we need to do all these things, right? Basically, this is for security purpose, or if you want to say that I want to show something to the people, but I don't want them to modify, right? I, as an admin, can only modify, but nobody should be able to modify. So in such cases, tuple concept is very useful. For example, in your model, some things are not in your control, right? For example, I can create question, I can delete question, I can update question. But as a student, you don't have all those options. All you need, you can say is only what questions are there, what questions are not there, correct? So you can only see or which questions are visible, which questions are not visible. That is the only option you are having as a student. But you don't have any kind of edit, delete, update options, right? So in such kind of projects, in such kind of situations, we require what? We require tuple. In some cases, we don't require tuple, we require list. For example, there is an dashboard option for the students, right? So in Moodle. So in dashboard option, what you can do here in dashboard or in preferences, what you can do, you can update your email ID, you can update your name. So what you are trying to do there, you are trying to modify the things that are under your control, correct? For example, if your email is wrong, what you're doing is you are adding or updating your email. So those things we can create as a list. Some things which we don't want people to modify, that should be created as a tuple. So you need to be very having a clarity on whether you require tuple or whether you require list. So that is a fundamental thing. Got it? Now, once I add element into the list, so in this line, what we are doing? Now we are again converting this list back to the tuple. So which constructor I am using here? Tuple constructor. So please remember, so there are two constructors, list and tuple. as it is you need to use. So for the list constructor, you can pass the tuple. For the tuple constructor, you can pass the list. So these things you need to remember. So what is this line is doing? It is converting the list into the tuple. If list is here and tuple is here, so it is a reverse process. So this will be very helpful in updating the tuple content. So please remember this particular logic. Okay. So if somebody asks you how to update the tuple content, your answer is this is, if you know this method is fine. Convert the tuple into list, update the item, and again convert back the list into tuple. Okay. What is the exact use of index function? Index function, obviously, you know, right? In many cases, we use index function to identify the position of the element. For example, I don't want to display all the elements in the list or tuple, right? I want to display the elements from the particular position, or if I want to find out where exactly in the memory the data is stored. So in such cases, index function will be very useful. Okay. So it depends on the scenarios and applications. Okay. So what is the one more alternative method to update the tuple values? Update in the sense, see, you are not deleting the existing values. You can't modify the existing values. All that you can do is add the new values. That is possible. Adding the new values is possible to the existing list, but modifying or updating the existing values is not possible. So in this line, what we are doing, alternative method to update the tuple values. So there is an existing tuple here plus 1, 4, 5. So I'm adding new values to the existing tuple, right? So obviously this is also tuple, right? Anything that I'm enclosing within the brackets and mentioning the values will be treated as a tuple. So here one tuple is updated with the another tuple. So the existing values are getting updated, right? So these three are the existing values, right? These three new values are added to the existing tuple, correct? So this also you can do it without modifying the existing values. So just like updation, which is not allowed, similarly, you cannot remove the item from the tuple, right? So you cannot remove the item from the tuple. So that means tuple doesn't support remove function, discard function, pop function, which we discussed in the last class list. In the list, we have all those functions, right? Pop, remove, and discard. Those functions won't support even in the case of tuple. So please remember that. Here I have not added the code. You please try it if it works or not. So remove function doesn't work with the tuple. Okay. If you want, you can try it. Suppose if I say tp1 dot remove. Suppose if I want to remove 3.5. So what is the error I'm getting? I'm getting attribute error, right? Tuple object has no attribute remove, right? So this is also an important error. Please note down that all these errors you should be having no idea. So that means this function is not supported by the tuple. You can't remove the elements directly. Now, the question is that now I want to remove the elements from the tuple at any case. I don't want that element without converting that into list, right? So how to do that? The alternative way. So observe this code. We have a new tuple here with some values which I have given. So all of you know the slicing method, na? So what I'm doing here, I'm accessing the elements from 0 to 4 and 5 to till the end. So what does this mean? Which element is getting deleted or which element I am not accessing in the tuple? I'm not accessing the element 5, correct? So this is one more way. You can call it as a jugaad or something, whatever you feel it. So this is an alternative way to delete the whatever the element that you don't want in the tuple without getting any error. Okay, so slicing is an alternative method to remove the element from the tuple. So please remember that's why slicing is an important concept. In some cases, if nothing is possible, at least slicing will help you. So you should know or solve more problems based on the slicing. Okay. So here again you might get confused, sir. We are using the square bracket here now. This may be considered as a list. No. So we are not converting the tuple to list or something. This is a standard syntax for slicing. Okay. Square bracket. If you mention any number, colon, here, any number here. So that means I am accessing the element from the first index and going up to the fourth index. That means without including fourth index. I'm converting or accessing the elements from the first element up to third element. This is standard syntax for slicing. So it has nothing to do with the list. Don't get confused with the syntaxes. A lot of syntaxes you will be getting. So the next, please observe next one. What is this question? A list can contain tuples and vice versa. That means you can include a list within a tuple, or you can include a tuple within a list. Okay. That means your data can be a combination of list values and tuple values created together. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm creating a list, correct, in this line. I'm creating a list one in the square bracket, right? So whenever you use square bracket, so you understood that it is a list. So three values I've created, and after the third value, I'm using normal bracket. In that, I am again having some values. So this is called as a combination of list values followed by the tuple values. So this is allowed. You can have a list values along with the tuple values within the same name under the same category. So when I'm printing that list values, you can see these are displayed normally, and these values are displayed in opening bracket. So that is an indication to you guys that it is not a list. These are the tuple values. Okay. Then you can check whether the elements are there in that position or not. So what is this line is doing? List one of three dot indexing. Here, see, somebody asked me what is the need of index. Now I want to know where is this D is located, correct? In the memory. So I'm trying to find out the index of D, right? So list one of three. So what is three here? 0, 1, 2, 3. So at the third index, my tuple is created, correct? So from the third index, I am trying to find out the index of D. So what is my answer? 3. Why I am getting 3? So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index of D is 3 now. So you might get confused. You might think that this value is getting printed. So please have a clarity when you are solving these kind of problems. Okay. So we are trying to access, what is this question? Finding the index of elements in the tuple from the list. So these kind of questions you will be asked in the MCQs and all. How do you find out the index of element in the tuple, right? It is a one-dimensional array. Along with that index function, and you have to pass the element that you are trying to search for. Okay. Next, here you see what is happening here. Can somebody tell me? I'll try to unmute you guys. So what is happening here? Why I'm getting error, though I'm updating the list?
Sir, like you are inserting an
As you are
element into the
updating
tuple.
in tuple, sir.
So
Right.
these kind of questions might confuse you in Python. So what I'm trying to do, somebody told me, right? We are trying to update the tuple, though it exists inside the list, correct? List one of three dot insert 1 comma z. So I'm trying to insert z at the position of 1. That means I want to get the updated value like this: a z b c d, correct? Which is what I'm trying to do. So you might get confused by the first line. So okay, it is a list means we can update, correct? That is a basic confusion. But if you understood the tuple concept properly, though it is embedded inside the list, we can't modify the tuple values. Okay. So I'm trying to update the tuple values, which is there inside the list at the index 3. So still I am getting the error as tuple object has no attribute inside. So as I told you already, only two functions are supported in the tuple. That is, one is count, another is index. So insert, remove, delete, update, all these things you cannot use with the tuple concept. Okay, so this is also one of the question that you need to be very careful with. Then obviously the next question is, can we modify the list items which are inside the tuple? Is it possible or not? So in this case, see this line. I have a tuple elements 1, 5. Inside that, it's the third index, not third index, second index. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. At the second index, I'm having 10 and 12, but they are not normal values. They are coming inside the list. Correct. Next, in this line, second line, what I'm trying to do, TP1 of 2 dot insert 1 comma GRIET. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to update GRIET at the first position inside the second index of the tuple. So second index is what? List. It is not a normal value. So my list got updated. So at the first index, GRIET has updated. This is possible. Okay. So the simple question is, can you modify the tuple elements inside the list? The answer is no. Second question is, can you modify the list items which are inside the tuple? Answer is yes. So though you have a tuple constraint, which you can't modify the elements, in this case, you are able to modify. Why? Because as you know, the rules of the list is you can update existing the values, extend the existing values. All those features are possible inside the list. Okay. So all these are syntax rules, which you need to be very careful and thoroughly you should be knowing them before solving any problems. Okay. And there are some inbuilt constructors to create list and tuple. As I told you already, tuple and list. These two are the, and even for set, we have a set. So that those are called as constructors. So in detail about constructors, you will be studying in Java or C++, right? What is constructor, destructor, all those concepts you will be learning in detail in Java. So, okay. So as of now, you understand constructors are inbuilt functions which are used to initialize the tuple values or list values. So the function name I'm using is list. So here you will get a confusion. So when you are using the constructor, opening bracket and closing bracket is mandatory. Based on the name, what is the name you have written? List. So if your constructor name is list, immediately after the opening bracket, you have to create a square bracket. Suppose if your constructor name is tuple, correct? Opening bracket and closing bracket is mandatory. Inside that, one more opening bracket and closing bracket you need to create, because you know that syntax for tuple is normal brackets. So here you can mention the values. So this is a standard rule. So list function, tuple function, inside that the syntax that you are using, square bracket for list, normal bracket for tuple. So this is one more way to create the list and tuple concepts using the constructors. Okay, what is this function doing? Do you guys remember what is this one? In the last class, I told you. What is that? What is this line? These entire statements. I taught you something called as list comprehension. How many of you remember this? Correct. So similarly, we have tuple comprehension. That means you can write a short code or do a small code implementation within the syntax using list comprehension and tuple comprehension. So what is this code is doing here is, it is checking if there is any item such as 2, right? So it will display all the items except 2 if item is not equal to 2. Item for item in my tuple if item is not equal to. Basically, it is trying to display, or it is trying to fetch the values, all the values which are not equal to 2. That means we are trying to delete. This is also one more way to delete, you can say. One more way to delete the elements from the tuple without getting any error. So this is called as list comprehension or tuple comprehension. Yeah. Yes, somebody had doubt. Okay, this is a short syntax for comprehension technique, which I told you in the last class. So you need to have an expression, and for that expression, item is a variable name. You can replace this item with anything. For example, A. Then for A, in my table, if A is not equal to 2. So what is that expression or variable which you can decide? Then for A in the tuple, if A is not equal to 2, basically it is fetching all the data from the tuple until the data is not equal to 2. So this is one more way to delete the elements from the tuple is what I am trying to say using tuple constructor. Then here what I am doing, I'm trying to do here. What technique we have used in this? As per my explanation.
Conversion of tuple to list.
Yeah. So we are converting tuple to list, then removing the item, then again converting back list to tuple, then printing the values. Correct? So what is the advantage that you can see here is I am not using multiple variables, just unlike C. In C, anytime if you create a variable name, it is fixed, right? A and B means you can't repeat that variable name forever in that code. If you have at any line, if you're repeating A and B variables, you will get an error. That means variable is already defined. But in the case of Python, that advantage is there. So here I'm created T1, then T1 I stored in list one. Then again, I'm using in the fourth line T1 only, correct? So you need not to worry about the variable names. You can use the same variable names, modify it however you want to. The compiler won't give any error. Okay. So tuple of list one, I'm storing it back to T1 here. But if you want to use any other variable also, it is possible. In this case, why it is printing T1, 2, 3, 4? Can anyone tell me?
T1.
Yeah. So that's what I'm just trying to make you understand the importance of what is the variable you are using, because it is a lot of confusion. You are not declaring, unlike C, you are not declaring. Dynamically, you are creating the variable names, updating. So you need to be you need to practice, then only these things you will be able to follow up. Okay. So this is the concept of tuple. Simple. Tuple is very easy to follow because it is having more restrictions, less function support, right? So many things are not allowed in the case of tuple. Okay. So based on this understanding, I'm just launching a poll. So you please answer that poll questions, all of you. So check your poll questions and please answer that. You are not getting the poll. Maybe your network issue. Check it out. Try to relog in or refresh your internet. Okay, last 2 minutes. Okay, I'm closing the poll. Okay, so what is the first question? What is correct option with respect to Python, right? So most of you answered. Tuples are immutable while lists are mutable. So first one is simple only. So see this question. Second one. Suppose t equal to 1, 2, 4, 3. Which of the following is incorrect? Right? So the first one is incorrect. Why? If you understood the class, most of you would have answered it, but still some people have doubt here. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to update the third index to 45. 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 I'm trying to change and modify it to 45. So obviously it will not work because tuple doesn't support modifying the existing values. Yeah. Okay. Third question, what is that? A equal to 1, 2, 3, print A. Yes, this at the very beginning I told you tuples can be created without bracket also, correct? Tuple values can be created without bracket also. Still most of you, many of you have given the 35% of you have given invalid syntax. So these kind of MCQs you will be having in the placement exams. So don't think these are not important. Many people are not attending the poll also. Only 170 have attended. So this is the problem with the students. Okay. There is no continuity or there is no keeping up with the interest. So when you lose the interest, you stop learning. You have to balance everything properly. So when you come for the placement exam, you will get importance or understanding of all this, why these are all important. You might solve big problems, but you will end up losing or missing out because of these simple questions. Okay. So please solve more such questions. Okay. So in any interview exam, I'm telling you, the very first round will be MCQ round, right? So in that MCQs round, you will be having a combination of all type of questions, whether it is C or Java or whatever, C++, right? Python. So you should be having thorough knowledge of the basic foundation of all the languages, especially when it comes with the syntaxes, rules, what is valid, what is invalid. Okay. So this obviously is valid because tuple can be created without bracket. Those who understood, they have answered it, but maybe you know not given the attention when I'm explaining that. And this is also the following Python code valid. So what we are trying to do, We are trying to assign A and B to 1, 2, 3. Correct? I mean 1, 2, 3 we are trying to assign to A and B. So what is the concept of this? It is called as unpacking, right? I'm trying to unpack the values into individual variables, but it won't work because there are no enough variables to unpack. So that's why the error is no too many values to unpack. So how to overcome this problem? Anyone?
Star before B, sir.
Only before B? Or can I make it as A?
Yes, sir. You can also do it for you.
A or B.
A or B. Both are valid, correct? So this is called as proper unpacking. So if there is a star here, definitely most of your answer would have been correct. This would have been correct. Or even this also would have been correct. Correct. So the actual answer is too many values to unpack. Which of the following is a Python list? Right. So obviously, this is the most easiest question, I think. So square bracket will create a Python list. This is not a list. This is a tuple. This is not a list. It is a set. Empty bracket, square bracket is a list. Empty flower bracket is a set. Okay. Here also, these many people need to work on. So if you give attention to what I'm explaining, these questions will become very easy to solve.
Sir, I think it is this is the last one. Last option it is this is not set.
Which one?
Sir,
It's a
open
dictionary, na, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir.
No. Set also uses square flower bracket. I'll tell you. Even for
Sir, last option.
which one you are telling?
Last option. Last option.
Hmm.
It is empty dictionary.
Yeah. Anyways, please, why I'm keeping these poll questions in every classes? People won't realize the importance of this. At least those who are attending regularly are able to solve means definitely will have a good confidence when it comes to exams. So this is the beginning, right? So already we are taking the training sessions for second year people. Once again, we conducted MCQ rounds for C. Most of them out of 20, they are able to score only 3 and 4. So their foundation is very, in a bad state. So they are telling, sir, we are good in Java. So why again C? But they are not understanding the importance of this first round. So in any placement exam, the first round will be MCQ. Only when you pass that MCQ round, you will be going to the next technical round. So you are not given chance to solve the problems only if you don't clear the MCQ round. So in any language that you are learning, after the topic, you have to practice a lot of MCQ questions. That is your job. Not just the day when I'm teaching. Even next 1 week, if you have time, means after the class, after that particular topic, what I teach, you have to explore and find more content on the internet to find out various ways to solve the given topic. Okay. So give more attention to those kind of small syntax rules when it comes to topics. MCQs is a very important, I'm telling you. And I used to do it in the class also. Please tell your faculty also who is teaching, make sure that after every session, you can keep MCQ questions in the Moodle also. That is also, I think most of them are doing already, but still you need to make sure that you are practicing a lot of MCQs. These I'm telling you because I'm just getting the information, what kind of rounds they are keeping in the interviews. And most of the 90% of them are keeping MCQ rounds. Okay. So this is about list and tuple. Next thing that we have is, so we'll take up set and dictionary. We'll try to wind up sets and dictionary today. Then the next 1 week, you will practice questions on sets and dictionary and list and tuple. Problem solving questions. What you are learning here is syntax rules. What is allowed, what is not allowed, right? Then using this concept, you will be doing the problem solving questions. Fine. The next one is set. So sets are created using flower bracket. Most importantly, sets are unordered, unchangeable, and cannot have duplicate items. All of these things you need to remember. So it is totally opposite to the list, as I told you. Set list and tuples are ordered, whereas set is unordered. You can modify the values in the list, where you can't modify them in the set and tuple. Tuple also won't allow you to modify the values, unchangeable. And most importantly, tuple set cannot have duplicate items. That means a list and tuple supported the duplicate items, but set doesn't support the duplicate items. But most you need to give the attention to this third line. It won't throw any error, but removes the duplicate items. So this is very confusing statement. What I'm trying to say, set cannot have duplicate items. I said set cannot have duplicate items. Next question that you will get in mind is, will it throw any error or will it give me any error? The answer is no. It won't throw any error, but it handles that smoothly by itself. That means it will just remove the item that is having a duplication, correct? So inside it is taking care of the things, but you can't see the duplicated value. So see here in this sample example, I have set one. In that 3 string values are there, one GRIET, another one GRIET. So 2 items are repeated here. So when I'm printing that set one, so you can see what element is deleted. GRIET is deleted here. Only one GRIET is printed because there is a duplication of data. So this will be taken care by the compiler inside. So there is one more example I have here. In this case, why it is not removed? One is not removed. GRIET is removed.
Because first one is a string and second one
It's
is
not a string.
Yeah. So these things you need to think and solve. Many people will be knowing them, but when it comes to MCQ rounds, you will get nervousness because time is passing and you will end up giving the wrong answers. So here one is a string and this one is not a string. This is an integer value. This is a string value. So this is allowed. So though they look same to the eyes, but the compiler inside know that this is a string and this is an integer. So this kind of things you need to be very careful. And just like tuple, we can't modify the existing elements in the set also. I'm trying to update the 10 value at the index 1 of the set, which is not possible. It does not support item assignment. Then what is next thing? You cannot access set items through index again. When I say you can't modify and access, even accessing is also not possible directly. Print set 1 of 2. I'm trying to access the element at the index 2. So what is the error I'm getting? Set object is not subscriptable. That means you can't access the elements of the set using subscript operator. Okay. So these syntax rules, please remember. And what is the one more important point compared to the list and tuple? Set items are unordered. Unordered means depending upon the compiler, the elements of the set will be displayed randomly. Output will be displayed randomly. So see this example. I have created a set 2 with multiple values, combination of all the type of values. So we are having integer value, string value, Boolean values, floating point value. But what is the order in which I got the output when I print? It is total random value, right? First true is getting printed, then 50, then 3.5, then 100, 20, 30. So that means the items of the set are not always indexed. They will be in a random order. Similarly, when I update the new element into the set, right? Set2 dot add. See, again, you may get a confusion here. I said set items are not changeable. When I say not changeable means it applies to the existing values. You can't modify the existing values. But in this line, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add the new values. The value is 1000. I'm trying to add to the existing set. This is possible. This is allowed. You can add new value to the set, but you can't modify the existing value. So when I add this new value, again, I'm printing the set. So it is placed randomly somewhere because there is no particular index where this 1000 is getting added. It is a random position. When you display, you don't get to know what is the index position of this 1000. So this is the importance of set when it comes to list and tuple, right? So what is the difference between list, tuple, and set? If someone asks, this is the most important point. Similarity between tuple and set is both of them are indexed. When it comes to set, this is not indexed. Okay. What we are doing in this line, again, are we trying to modify the existing set? No. So we are updating the set 2 with the content of set 1, correct? So whatever the content that we had in set 1, we are storing that into set 2. This is also possible. So you are not modifying any existing content. So all these things are allowed in the sets. Then when it comes to deletion, so set provides some functions to delete the elements, unlike tuple. In tuple, we don't have any functions apart from count and index, right? But set supports 3 functions to delete the elements. So what are they? Remove, discard, and pop. Just like in list, we have this support even in the set also. But you need to know the difference between remove and discard here. So what I'm trying to do at this line is, I'm trying to delete the 40 element, right? When I'm printed, so what is happening? It is deleting the 40, that is fine. But when I'm deleting the element which is not there, so the element that I have here is GRIT, but I'm trying to delete GRIE. So basically, I'm just checking how the remove function works. So when I'm trying to delete an existing element which is not there, so this remove function gives you error. What is that error? Key error it will give you. But the same thing if I try to do with discard, okay, same thing if I try to do with the discard function, am I getting any error? So see here, this line and this line is same, right? What is the only difference? Here we are using remove, here we are using discard, correct? And I'm trying to delete GRIE here. Am I getting any error? No. So this is the most important difference, right? So remove function will throw an error when the element is not there and which you are trying to delete, whereas discard won't raise error if the element doesn't present. Okay, that is the only difference. So based on your code, you can use whichever you want to discard or remove, both you can use. This will again, it is about deletion, right? There is one more function which is called as pop. So in the last class, I told you, right? What does pop do? If you mention the element, that particular element will be deleted, right? If you don't mention, what will happen? The last element will be deleted. That is in the case of list. The very last element in the list will be deleted using pop function. But in the case of set, when you use pop function, see here, I'm adding 100 to the existing set. So you got updated data here, 1 to 50, 100 and 3. Great. Then when I'm writing this line, set3 dot pop, which element is getting deleted? One is deleted. One is deleted. But grit is not deleted. Generally, pop will delete the last element, right? But in the case of set, it didn't delete the last element, but it deleted some random element, not always first element again. So pop function in the set, when if you use it, it will delete a random element. So what is the concept? My suggestion is you don't use the pop function in the set, basically, because you don't know which element is getting deleted. So it will delete some random element from the existing set. Okay, this can be used when you want to delete any element from the item. For example, I have some overloaded items. Any item you delete, no problem. So in such cases, you can use pop function. But if there is some important data, so this is not suggested. Pop cannot be used in those cases. Okay. This is another way to create a set. Wait, I'll try to modify this. Okay. So both of them are valid actually. So just like list and tuple constructor, we are having set constructor also. But here we have used square bracket, that is also allowed. But generally, for your understanding, use flower bracket only. Printing the type of the set, so you can check it out. So using constructor, we are trying to create. That's the only difference. So these are some of the things you need to remember in the set. What is most important differences? Can anyone summarize when it comes to list set and tuple.
Tuple is immutable, whereas list is mutable.
Okay. Anybody else?
In set, index cannot be done.
Indexing is not allowed.
And in list, the items are in order, but in set, the items are not in order.
Okay.
In set, duplicate items are not allowed.
So what happens if there are duplicate items?
It will
Set
remove the
automatically remove
duplicate items automatically.
It
It won't raise any error.
Yeah, so very good. It won't raise any error, but it will take care inside, automatically delete the elements, duplicated elements by itself. That is set. Okay.
In sets, pop will remove any random element, whereas in list, it will remove the last element.
Last element. And what is the important difference between remove and discard?
Remove will raise error if the element is not found in it, but discard will not raise any error.
Yes. So these are some of the most basic things you need to remember when it comes to list, tuple, and set. Okay. Finally, what we have is dictionary. So right, most of you are using dictionary. What is dictionary basically? When you search for some meaning of some word, then it will display the corresponding
Values.
value for that particular. Suppose I don't know the meaning of this some fancy word, right? So I will go to the dictionary and type that what is that word. Descriptable is some word, right? I don't know what is descriptable. So I'll go and type in the dictionary. So it will give you a lot of values. Will it show only one values or will be having the multiple values in dictionary?
You can have multiple.
Have multiple values.
Right? So now tell me, do you guys belong to the list or dictionary? In
Dictionary.
the GRIT college. Within the GRIT environment.
Dictionaries.
Dictionary, sir.
How do you justify?
Sir, if you search in CSC something, then only we can find the students. It's a particular student.
If you
Okay.
search a branch, we'll get the list of all the students.
Okay, that
Whereas
is
the branch is the key and the list of the students is our values.
okay. That is one good example. You can take Moodle as an example. Now I am telling you, within Moodle, you search for a dictionary. Now justify your answer. So you are in a particular section, right? For example, you are from CSCC, for suppose CSCC is your key, and within CSCC, are you learning only one in Moodle? Are you only in one course or multiple course?
Multiple.
Courses.
Right now you are having two courses. One is Python and one is TS. When you come for training placement activities, you'll be having 3-4 courses: Java, Python, right? Advanced Python. Then you will be having aptitude, verbals. Lot of things are there. So basically, for one student, there are multiple values. In Moodle, for one student, there are multiple courses. So this is an important concept when it comes to practical projects implementations. So in such cases, dictionary is plays very important role. Correct. So when it comes to real time, one person can have a multiple bank accounts or not? Is it possible? Yes. So one person can have multiple bank accounts. That also comes under a dictionary. How they are mapped, you can say that they are mapped all through the Aadhaar card, right? So all those things you can analyze and understand when it comes to topics. So try to find out the practical answers. So when you know the hidden meaning, then you will get some interest in solving the problems. So how to create a dictionary is the first question. So dictionaries are created with curly brackets, just like set. But unlike set, they have key and values. Set doesn't have key and values. So dictionaries are written in curly braces, followed by key and value pairs. Dictionary is ordered again. It will be printed as per the given key and order values. Dictionary elements are changeable. That is also possible. And it do not allow duplicates. Correct. So just like set, it will not allow duplicates. It will not allow duplicate values. So how does it handle that particular duplication is what you need to understand. Okay, I will give an example for that. So first you understand the syntax rules. So it is always better to create dictionary like this. You can also do this in single line, but it is better to write line by line so that you have get a clarity. So here I have a dictionary D1. I have three keys. On the left side, whatever you are seeing are called as a keys. On the right side, what you are seeing are called as values. Key value pairs. We call them as key value pairs. So for subject, I am having a Python as a one value. Similarly, code for that subject is 134. I am giving example. College is GRIET. Okay. And what is the syntax you are understanding here? For the last key value pair, do I have semicolon? So do I have comma? No. So if I give comma, what will happen? Will it give any problem? This might work or may not work in some compiler. So I want you guys to try it out. So generally, it is not suggested to put comma for the last key value. Okay, key value pair. So if your values are multiple values are there means line by line, separate them with the comma operator except the last value. Okay. So just try this with the comma in the multiple online compilers, or in Moodle you try it, or in any suppose you are using Visual VS Code, there also try it. Whether it is giving any throwing any error or not, please check it out. Because these things will matter in the case of database subjects. In DBMS, you can't add a comma in the last line. Depends on the compilers anyway. So here, when you printing the dictionary, the answer will be in the same line. You might have created like this, but the answer will be in the same line with the format of key and value pair. See, key and value pair should be separated by colon. So please be careful. And key and value pair should be embedded inside the double quotes. This is also very important. So without double quotes, it will not detect as a key and value pair. So everything that you are mentioning as key and value pair should be enclosed within the double quotes. Okay. So this is the basics of how to create a dictionary. Opening bracket, closing bracket. Don't put semicolon here again. Thinking like a function. Then what is this line doing? It is trying to fetch the value associated with the key. Print D1 of sub. Right? Value associated with subject Python. So it is printing that particular value. This is called as accessing the elements from the dictionary. See, whatever you are learning now, three to four orders will be there, right? First thing that you need to ask is how to create. Next thing is you need to ask how to access the elements. Then after that, you need to ask yourself how to update the values. Then finally, how to delete the values. Correct? So any topic that you are learning, these things are mandatory when it comes to data structures, right? Or collections. In creation, insertion, updation, deletion, or modification. So you should ask yourself these questions and then explore the problems. Okay. So this syntax is called as a deletion, accessing, right? So when you see the MCQ questions, first to think about under what category that question might come, whether it is related to deletion or updation or insertion, correct? Then you will be able to easily make a choice, quickly make a choice. Okay. And what we are trying to do here is it comes under deletion or accessing or updation. I have already given here. Okay. Lot of things I made it easy for you guys. Because of reason you people are not solving the problems. I don't know. So when you don't have anything, that time people will work. If you spoon feed, they don't work. So that's why I'm thinking from next class, there is no material, nothing. It is only class. If you attend my class, you will do it. Otherwise, you won't do it. So it is not going to affect me. So anyway, here, this is an updation because dictionary items can be changeable, right? So in the definition only, we have given it is changeable. So you can update the dictionary items. How to update is the question, right? So obviously to update, you can't update directly values because for each value there is associated key. So 345 I want to update. Where you want to update? Under the key value code. So code was initially 134. Now it is modified to 345. Okay. So now in this case, we are updating the dictionary value. So when you print it, you can check that the value is updated. So what is this line? What I am trying to update here?
Subject key, sir.
So as I told you, initially the subject was only Python, correct? The subject key value was only Python. Now in this line, I wanted to modify it to multiple values. So again, everything should be coming inside the square bracket. So Python, Java, and C++ are updated to subject key, right? Now when I print the dictionary, under the key of subject, you can see these all values are updated. So now one key is having multiple values, right? One key is having multiple values. So it is like your home key. You have a master key and you can duplicate it into a number of keys and you can distribute to your family members, right? So, but all of them come under the category of home key. So it is as simple as that. Okay. And what is this line? Is it modifying or updating or creation? You need to ask yourself. Is it modifying the existing value or updating the existing values or creating the new values?
Modifying.
Modifying, sir.
There are two methods. In this case, I modified with the subscript. In this method, what I used, I don't like this method, means you can go with the update function. So update function inside the bracket, normal bracket, you have to, within the flower bracket, you have to mention the key value pair. So here you are trying to mention both key as well as value, right? Just like this, but the syntax is a little bit different. Then how to, next question is, you understood how to insert, how to create, how to add elements, right? Then how to delete the elements from the dictionary. So just like list, we also have pop function supports to the dictionary. So here, but do I need to delete the value directly or do I need to go through the keys? See, in dictionary, everything should go through the keys, correct? So with the associated key, the operation will be performed. So here in the pop function, I'm not passing the direct value. What I'm passing the key value. So if you pass the actual value, you'll get an error. So for pop function to work, you need to pass the key. So when I'm deleting the pop, when I'm using the pop, the city value is getting deleted. So here in this case, I updated. Is there any difference between this and this? 172 and 173 cells, or are they same?
Sir, 173, you are adding a new key to the dictionaries. Whereas in 172, you are just modifying the value.
So this might confuse you guys. So when you hear the term update, that is the correct answer, correct? So when you hear the term update, it is modifying the existing value. But in this case, I don't have the existing value. I don't have anything as such as city as the key. When we don't have the key, the compiler will create the new key value pair. So we had data till here, right? So this data is added. This data is added to the existing dictionary. So the same update function is doing two tasks. One is modifying the existing value. One is creating the new value if the existing value is not there. Then dictionary supports pop methods, right? So this thing I already told you. City as a key value, if you give that particular data is getting deleted. So just like again, list, we have a DL keyword using which you can delete the key value. So here what I'm using, DL keyword followed by a dictionary name followed by the key value. So you're trying to delete the code value here. And how to access is the one question, right? Now I want to access the elements directly. So here you are trying to access using for loop. Which values are getting displayed here? Which values are getting displayed? Are they key values? Values. They are actual values. So when you are using with the for loop and trying to access the elements, it is not displaying the key value. It is displaying the actual values. So now there is a question, right? So how will you print only key values? Again, in this case also, if I want to access only directly values, But only difference here is here I'm directly using this particular method, general method. Here I'm using d1 dot values function. I'm using it will only print the values. Okay. And you can see this code, what it is displaying.
Only keys, sir.
So now I don't want the actual values. I just want to display the key values. So there is a function to support dictionary name dot keys. So I've created a dictionary here, for example. What technique is used to create the dictionary in this case? 178th line. What is this DICT called as? Constructor. So this terminologies you need to understand. So here, simplified version compared to the initial version, you can use the constructor also to create the dictionary. Here you need not to mention bracket and all, directly key value pair. Key equal to, again colon you should not use. So all these syntax rules you need to understand. When you are using dictionary, name equal to, name is a key, Abhi is a value, age is a key, 23 is a value. Okay, this will also create a dictionary. And s1 dot keys, this is accessing the key values and creating a list of values, key values in the X. So what is the type of X? If you print the type of X, what you will get the answer? What is the type? Is it a list? So we have an inbuilt type called as dictionary underscore keys. This is an inbuilt class, right? So sometimes you might get confused if I print the values, so it is displaying inside square bracket, correct? So you might think that it is accessing the keys and creating a list elements, list of keys it is creating, but it is not creating a list of keys. It is creating its own class, right? It is creating its own class. What is the class name? Class name is dictionary underscore keys. So same thing you can do. What is this doing? There is an inbuilt class called as DICT underscore values. So this is displaying only values and it is an inbuilt class. So these things you need to be very careful. Right. So this is some function. So these are all some of the important rules when it comes to list, set, dictionary, and tuple. Okay. Any doubts? If you have, please ask me. Let me have a.
Sir, when you are trying to add multiple values to the key, doesn't that mean that you are adding a single list to that key?
You tell me in which line.
171, sir.
Here only.
171. Yes, sir.
What is your doubt?
Sir, if you are, assigning multiple values to the single key,
Yeah.
then doesn't it mean you are adding a list itself to the key?
You can say like that, but it is not considered as a list. We are just trying to add more values to the existing key. The syntax might confuse you. Syntax.
Yeah, sir, that's why I asked that
Yeah.
square brackets.
No, that's why I'm telling you now. You have to practice a lot of things, do trial and error method. So most of the times, these are the common special characters that will repeat in any language. What are they? One is opening bracket, closing bracket, flower bracket, square bracket, then dot, comma, semicolon. All these things these are the most common specific characters, special characters that you are using. So they are the characters which will confuse you most, because where we need to use them, what situation we need to use them is you need to have a clarity. And when you get an error, you need not to panic. You need to do the trial and error method. So if it works for you, you need to make a note down. So when I was in engineering, what I used to do is, in the beginning days, I used to maintain a separate notebook which is called as syntax errors. That book name itself is called as errors. Small 100-page notebook I used to mention. then whatever error I am getting, I used to write there, so that next time I don't repeat that error. Or if next time I get that error, I used to refer my book and check, okay, does it fall under this category? Then I used to do trial and error. So that is the only way you can be perfect in, in this kind of situations, to get the clarity on what is allowed and what is not allowed. So syntax rules are most important to get interest and solve the practical situation problems in this kind of coding languages. So 90%, what is my suggestion is, see, when you join the company, 80% of the code someone does and he leaves the company. So what he will do is, he will hand over that code to you guys in a team. That time, what becomes important? Can anyone tell me what he will do in that situation? Suppose you are working in a team. Suddenly, your colleague has shifted to some other company, and your team leader will tell you that to take over the data from him and work on that. So, what you will do in the very first stage?
Analyze the issue, sir.
Analyze the issue, right? So
Analyze the code.
your team leader will not come and help you to understand the code like our teachers. Your team leader will tell that take his implementation, continue from there. We have a deadline in the next 3 months. So that time your most important skill set is your basic foundation of analyzing the mistakes in the code. If you are able to analyze and find out the mistakes in the code, 80% problem is solved. Next thing is you just need to update based on the requirement. In that, again, you will have a team to work on. But to explain the other people, this is what he has done. There are some mistakes in this code. Nobody will be there. So that time your fundamental, knowledge regarding all the syntax rules will be helpful for you to solve the problem. So that's why I always tell whenever I teach, please give attention to the syntax rules, logical issues, logical errors more than problem solving. Many people want to solve, sir, I want to get the test case matched. I am not getting the solution. They will only worry about output and grade, but they don't think what is that code they have written. They only don't know. Any one error gets missed, they will be panicked. That should not be the case. So you have to solve the errors multiple times, then make a note of that, where you went wrong in each and every code that you are solving. Just because you are able to solve 1 or 2 questions means doesn't mean that you know everything in that language. So it is a lifelong procedure, right? So it is not, you can't say that I know everything in coding languages. So every day we'll get to new methods, new functions will be added. So you just need to work on day by day. Yes. So this is a good question actually. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to add a list of value to the key. You can think like that. But now to do the trial and error method, what you do is, instead of square bracket, you add a set. What happened here? Can anyone tell me? Yeah. So now in the case of dictionary, does this square bracket or this flower bracket make any errors or any changes?
No, sir.
No. So in this case, it is not a problem, right? So you have to do trial and error method. So there is no problem. Now, next, see when you create this kind of questions now, you should not stop there. So this is a list of values, right? Now what I will do at this line, we are trying to update now D1 of subject, something like this. So you might get a doubt here in this case that when I say this symbol, right? What does this indicate? Set, basically, in terms of data structure I'm talking, Python data structure. So you might get a doubt that, okay, now this is a set, I can't modify the values because the rule of the set says that you can't modify the values, right? Or you can make it as a tuple for it, for that matter. Tuple says what? You can't modify the values. But is it affecting? No. So whether you use this or this or this doesn't matter in the dictionary. So here everything is deleted and updated with C++, correct? Now my question I will ask you, find out a way, write and tell me anyone later on. Can I delete only this Java from this subject? Are you getting my point? Right. So what is my question is, in this subject, I don't want this Java. I want only Python and C++. I've already created the key, subject key with the Python, Java and C++. Now I want to delete only Java. Is it possible is my question. Can you do that?
I think yes, sir, by slicing method. you can-
Slicing. Do you want to do it with the slicing or do you want to use pop function or delete function?
Pop function.
So you try it by yourself and give me anyone who get the answer. You tell me. I will leave this one to you. So these kind of questions you need to think and analyze by yourself. In the last class, I
You can
asked
change the
questions.
list and then delete Java and then change it back to tuple, right?
What, ma?
You can change it to list. You can change the tuple to list, basically delete Java and then change it back to tuple, accessing that whole tuple.
No, this is, we are not dealing with the tuple.
We are
Na?
dealing with dictionaries.
In tuple, whatever you're saying is fine. I'm talking about dictionary. Dictionary, the key is subject. I'm having this value. In those values, I already created these values. By mistakenly, I opted for Java. Now I don't want Java. Okay. Now I want to delete this Java. In the subject, I want only Python and C++. After this line, you have to modify. Is there any method you need to explore? In the last class also, I gave one question. What is that question? There was a problem in the poll question, correct? In the end, you are getting comma, right? So I told you guys to find out a way to print the same code without comma at the end. How many of you tried? I don't know. Did you guys try that? This is the question, right? Which I asked in the poll. So what is the answer I'm getting here? For I in range 10 to 15, 1, I'm getting comma in the end, correct? So now I don't want this comma. So there are multiple ways to do it, okay? This is one method. Again, what is this I'm using? It is a list comprehension I'm using. I'm using, see, you can ask me the question, sir, why we are using str of num? Again, I don't want to tell why I'm using. So you type it, remove str, find out why, what is the reason why we are using str in this particular case. Will it work without str? Okay, just remove str of num, just put num here, then try to write the same code and check it out. What is the reason I have used str here? Okay, so for num in range 10 to 15, something called as join. Most of you guys are using this join function in the code. When you are solving the code, you are using join function. I've seen the codes. So what is it doing is, it is trying to join all the numbers matched by comma, correct? then printing that output. So after the last number, that is here 10 to 14, I am going, right? After 14, obviously there is no comma which is there in the right in the input. I'm entering the input, right? So you can check it out. So this is one way to avoid that particular problem. This kind of questions you will get in the MCQs. So how to delete the last comma. Alternative way is this also. So print star range 10 to 15 one separated by comma. Somebody told on that day only, but that will not work for this code. Suppose if you put a separator here, you will get the output in the next line. Because you are using for loop and print, every time it goes back to the for loop, comes back to the print, it creates the new line. So I don't want to have a new line, right? And it is not even printing the comma also. This is one more method to avoid that extra comma in the end. Okay. And this is also one of the question that I have seen. So what is that? How to convert user input into list of numbers? Generally, when you enter the input, it will be considered as a string, right? So whatever the input you are entering, it will be considered as a string. So I am entering the input, right? Then input dot split I am using, creating the list. Enter list of numbers, right? Then this particular line, basically I'm splitting them based on the space and storing in numbers list. Till now I not created the list at this line. When I'm actually creating the list is on this line. So int of num, again, in this case, I'm using int. See, all these things will confuse you. In the previous case, I used str there. Here I'm using int of num for number in numbers list. Then I'm creating that in the same variable. Then I'm trying to print. So you are getting the answer in the square bracket. So whenever you get the answer in the square bracket, you assume that you understand that it is a list of values. If you get opening bracket, it is a tuple of values. If you get in the flower bracket, it is a set of values. So that clarity you need to have. So please analyze this kind of questions. So you can make a note of this. What is the reason I use str here? That is one thing I want you guys to explore. And why I'm using int. This is straightforward, right? Every input values I'm trying to convert into integer before storing them in the input list. Suppose if I don't use this int, what will happen? What is the change you are observing? Anyone?
All the elements in the number list are in string format.
Yeah. So these things, basic things you need when you are creating a list, what kind of data you want to store in the list, that clarity you should have. So here, if you don't mention, by default, they will be strings. But if you want to do some operation, find or add all the values of the list, store some values, updated value. In that case, this will not work, right? This is because it will create them as a string values. It is not a number value. So based on your criteria, your condition in the question, you need to convert into respected format. So in this case, why I use string is question that I will leave for the day so that you can go and explore this question. So there is some criteria for this. Why I have to write str of num, why not num? So you are getting some type error. I want you guys to explore. If I don't use this, if I don't use that str, I'm getting the type error. Please understand why this type error is raised and what is the reason behind it. Okay. So I'm going to wind up for the day. Please complete all the string and slices questions by tomorrow. Tomorrow it will be closed totally. Then until the next 1 week, you will be solving a lot of problems only on list, tuple, set, and dictionary. Okay, please remember that. I'll be giving at least minimum 10 questions based on list, tuple, set, dictionary in the Moodle. I will update it by 1 or 2 days. Okay, so you can practice all these concepts. You can combine there and solve the given questions. Fine. Any doubts still? If you have, you can contact me personally.
Sir, for join functions only work on the string, no, sir?
Join functions works only on the
String.
right. See, if in that case, when I print the output, am I printing the output as a string of numbers or are they just numbers?
String of numbers.
Is it related to join or is it related to something else? Have that clarity. Your answer is almost correct. So what I'm trying to ask is when you are using a string here in this particular case, is it related to join? Is it because of the constraint of join or is it because of constraint of any other thing in this line that you find out and later on you tell me. Okay. Your answer is almost correct. Not 100%. Okay. Fine. So please practice the given questions and complete it by tomorrow. And assessment problems, it will be still there until this Friday. I'll give up to Sunday, maximum Sunday. After that, I will close the assessment problems also, right? Because from tomorrow onwards, you will be solving all the current topics, whichever I discussed from the past 2 classes. Right? Fine. See you in the next class. Next class will be on Friday. There I will be discussing basically on functions, mappings, right? Lambda expressions and all those things. Okay, so you can exit and we are winding up for the day. See you in the next class.